Greetings, technology enthusiasts. I am Chandrahas and I am delighted to be here with you representing CyberBrainer. Do you not believe that the technology sector is advancing at an unprecedented rate, making this an opportune moment to acquire the skills that will facilitate your progress? With CyberBrainer, we are empowering you to take control of your own future. At CyberBrainer, we do not merely impart your interests. We assert that information is power, yet it is the application of knowledge that distinguishes you. Our courses are meant to equip you with essential skills, whether you are pursuing data science, understanding artificial intelligence, or delving into cybersecurity. Let us commence the session and seize the future today. Thank you.
I'll go into the business object again. The navigation is go to worker. This is how you can go to any business object. BO colon, the name of the worker, the name of the business object. I have put the name of the business object as worker here. I'll go into the worker. Here, we have understood that there are 4 tabs that you would see. One is your field. Second is your related business object. Now third is your data source. Yesterday we discussed on fields and related business objects. Today we are going to talk about data sources and reports. This will wrap up our chapter 1. Now, next week when we meet, we will start with organization. This organization is going to basically help you start the configuration. Alright, I'll update you on that part. Alright, now you're able to see worker business object in front of you. Let's go directly into data source. Guys, data source is there in Workday because of some specific reason. Now, when we create any kind of report, now, if you remember, I said that in cloud computing, right? You cannot have a monopoly on the resources. The resources are equally shared, right? You remember that? When I say the resources are equally shared, you cannot have a monopoly. What does that mean? It means that a resource is used by different customers. We cannot customize each and everything to our needs. I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? We cannot customize it completely to our individual needs. No, not like that. You can customize, but only the things which is customizable as per your needs. That is fine. But I'm talking about resources. Resources you cannot monopolize, which means, let's say I want to run a report. Now, the report which I have created takes a very long time to run. There is a limit, there is a governor limit. That any resources which is available to you will be available only for some specific amount of time. And for example, I can take 5 minutes. When you start running a report, the reports should run in 5 minutes only. If it is taking more than 5 minutes, it will break. Or it will give you a time of error. I was saying that you have a time limit for every activity. Which means if you are running a report, let's say you have a maximum time to run. That is 5 minutes. If anything goes beyond that 5 minutes, it will give you a timeout error. When I say timeout error, basically it means that you need to ensure that the report is in the most optimized manner. And it will not take more than that much amount of time to run. That is the meaning that the resources cannot be monopolized. You don't have the authority that I have paid for it. I need the resources. I will keep it till the time I want it. No, you cannot do that. Click. Can you please repeat? Devashish, I did not get it. I'll repeat it for you. Let's say I have a report. I have created a report. Now that report is going to run. It is going to extract the value and give that value in front of me on the screen. Now imagine that it is taking more than 5 minutes. And there is a limit of running the report. The time limit is defined as 5 minutes. If anything goes beyond 5 minutes, Workday says that you are not allowed to perform that activity, which is taking more than 5 minutes. There is a time limitation. Every time you see that, you will have a challenge. What happens when maybe your laptop is slow or the data has an issue? What happened? It will time out. We have to repeat the action again, but still, if it is taking more than 5 minutes again, it will time out. Are you understanding what I'm trying to say here? The main thing is timeout. If you want that, the report should be running fine without any challenges. It has to complete within 5 minutes. You cannot. This 5-minute is example you are giving, or is it same for everyone? It's not like it's an example. This is an example. This is an example. For everything, there is different time limit. This is just an example that what exactly happens if you have that problem. What would you do if that report is not running within that stability amount of time or workday? Gives you a way in which you can optimize your report. Which means I need to ensure that the report I am creating is in the most optimized form. Now, in order to do that, you need the right data source. In order to do that, you would need the right data source. Another important point to be noted, which you all should remember, if we have to create a report, we need to know the data source from where you are getting the data. When I am going to create a report, I will use data source like this data source all active and terminated workers. What this contains, let's see. It says accesses the worker as its primary object and returns 1 row per worker. Only includes all active and terminated workers, which means if there are retired employees, it will not contain your retired employees. In case you have retired employees, their data will not come, guys. Imagine if there are 50,000 employees in your organization and out of that 50,000, 10,000 are retired employees. 10,000 records are gone, right? It will not be returned in your report. Anyways, when it is not coming in your report, then what will happen? Your report will have less data. Correct. It will give the data in the stipulated amount of time. Yes, sir. Data source helps you in building the report and optimizing the report. But it has written all active and terminated workers. But then you're saying that the terminated workers are not included in the report. Sorry, what did I say? You said that the terminated workers will not be included in the report. I'm not saying terminated workers. I'm saying retired workers. Retired. Basically, which kind of report are we looking at? We can look at any report. I'm looking at a worker data report. Thank you. Every report in Workday, whenever you create a report in Workday, it will require a data source. Guys, you need to come to a business object to find the right data source for your report. See, in this there are 59 data sources, which means all these data sources will have different type of values. This will contain active and terminated. It says active and terminated for trending. Now trending means it's a separate kind of report. Just review that. You see all retirees. What does that mean? It will only include your retired employees. All work. Now this will contain all the details. All workers for pre-hire. Now pre-hire, what does that mean? Basically someone who has been selected but not been hired, that become a pre-hire. Similarly, if you go through this, they will get multiple options, multiple type of data sources. Now what is built in prompts? I can see that in most of the fields. I'll tell you about that. When we go into report, we will use that. Where do you see built in prompts right now? Does not contain any built-in prompts. It's there in most of the descriptions. Prompts basically means a kind of a filter that we'll talk about when we go into reports. What is my direct reports? What is included in that? What kind of description would be there? My direct report. My direct reports. Let's say if I am a manager, whoever is reporting to me becomes my direct reports. Right. Debushesh data source where I can see particular records. I mean kind of a condition you are putting. These data source itself is a database. No, it's not like a database. If you talk in terms of database language, do you know what is a view? No, not very sure. Note this point. What is view? Just try to Google it. You will get a lot of information on that, but I will explain it to you. Guys, what happens that if you have multiple table and from one table or multiple table, you want only some specific fields. You don't want all the fields. What do? Is we create a temporary table which is called as view that helps us in getting the data faster. What happened? Let's say that I have to get in my database and try to retrieve the data. Now my table has lot of information fields, lot of columns. Now if I have a lot of fields and let's say I have 100,000 employees working in different locations. What I can do? I can add certain conditions. Reduce the number of workers. What will happen in that case? I'll get the data faster. Let's say if I create a view that I only need those employees who is working in San Francisco. Let's say there are only 300 employees there. Out of 100,000 or 1 lakh, I'm getting only 300 employees. That data source will contain only the details of 300 employees. Right? Yes. If you have that scenario and if you are using that data source in your report will run very quickly. We have to do filter. Basically, data source is a condition in which you are reducing the number of employees or workers as per your condition. It's more like a filter, as you rightly said. And you see, one more thing that someone asked me that is built in prompt. Prompt is basically a runtime filter where it will ask you to enter the value by yourself. Now let's say I'll give you an example. I need to know how many female dependents are there for my employees. Right? Because you declare the dependents in your organization. Oh yes, if you declare your dependents, it could be a male dependent, it could be a female dependent. Now who? How many of you have female dependents? I don't want that. I will hard code the value. I will run the report and I will ask you to enter that value. Enter the gender of dependents for whom you want to run this report. And there you will have the option male, female, and you will choose that. What you're doing? You are entering the value and the runtime. Correct? Yes or no? If you're entering the value at the runtime, it is basically a prompt. We will see all these things when we go into the technical side. Why I'm talking about this? Because someone asked this question. Is this clear? What is data source, guys? No? And this one also run absences. It will run everywhere. You can go ahead and find any business object, not only worker, any business object. You have everything as a business object and those business object. Everybody will have all these 4 tabs. Now there are 2 types of data sources, guys. One is called a standard. Another is called indexed. See this. One is called as standard. Another is called as indexed. Now, what is the difference between a standard and indexed data source? Standard data source does not have an address pointing to the fields, but indexed data source will have an address. Now how you can relate it? You consider that you have a 1000-page book. And in that 1000-page book you have certain keywords. Where will you find that keywords? Have you seen any book which has 1000 pages? If you have used any book or 500 pages or 1000 pages or 2000 pages, have you gone through any book, any such book, anybody? If you have to find something important, how will you do that? Look at the index first and then the page numbers. That index will contain the topics, not the words. But actually it is my search. At the back of the book you may have seen a thing called glossary, right? Correct. Where you have a word and then with that word you will find a page number associated with that. Right? What does that do? It reduces the time for your search. You will directly go there. In that you know alphabetical order, the words are present and which word is and which page. You can go there and find it. But let's say that glossary is not available. If that part is not available, then what will happen? You have to start from the page number 1. Then we have to read every page. You have to go through each and every line, not only page, but each and every line to find that word. Imagine how much time will that take? More time. More time, right? And then if you use an index data source like the glossary of the book, then it will take less time. Correct. That is the basic difference between indexed data source and standard data source. Now, if you have less data, let's say you have data in hundreds or thousands. What is the difference? What is the advantage of using the indexed data source? Indexed data source helps you to return the value faster in a report because the data source will know where exactly that field is and what value I have to display. It will. The cursor will directly go in and get the value and display it. Now where this is applied, that is important to know. If you have values in several thousands like 2000, 5000, 10, 20,000, 50,000, it is very easy for a system to search that value. But let's say if you have data in millions and billions, you have tried and created some report which is giving you millions and billions of record. In those scenarios, you should not use standard data source. In those scenarios, you should use indexed data source. If you will use the standard data source, the report will not be optimized. It will always have certain challenges. You will always get timeout error. That's the major difference between indexed and standard data source. When you have indexed, it will have some or the other built in prompts. It will automatically ask you to enter that value because it will filter that. Right. Oh, guys, these questions can be your, interview questions. Always remember that these things are something which you always have to remember. Devashish, I have a question. Tell me please. Why can't we use index database when we have less data also? It does not matter. Even if you use index data source, it will give you the same time. We can use both when we have less data. You can use both. But what is the use of index in case when you are able to get the data from standard data source? Understand one more important part. When you are using index data source, it has additional backend filters which puts little bit of stress on your data center or server. It is suggested as a best practice that in case you have high amount of data, then only use index data source. It is not required or not recommended if you have less data to use index data source, but they will not stop you. You can use it. There is no problem in that, but I am talking only about the best practice. Guys, now the next part is your reports. I will talk only about reports now because all these three things we have understood. Fields related business object data source, and then now I am coming to reports. There are two parts. Report has two types of reports. Standard reports and custom reports. Same thing as standard fields and custom fields. Calculated and Workday delivered. Workday delivered we call standard field. Calculated we call it as custom field. When you go into reports, there are two types of reports. Standard reports and custom reports. Now, standard reports are those reports which is given to us by Workday. In this you see there is a report name and it is built on which data source. It is giving you that. Correct? Which means there is no owner of this report. What does that indicate? It indicates that the owner of this. Yes, the owner of all these reports are Workday. What happens in this? See, this is something I can go ahead and do. But what I can do, I cannot edit it. If I click on this actions, it will give me only few options. Copy, run and schedule. I cannot edit this kind of reports because it's a standard report. This is standard report. This is not a custom report. I don't have any power to edit this kind of reports. But yes, if I need this report, I can make a copy of it. And then, when I make a copy of it, I will become the owner. Once I am the owner, I can edit it. This is how your standard report works. Then comes the custom report. Every custom report will have an owner associated with that. You will have the report name. Then you will have the Workday account. Workday account is nothing but your user who has created it. And then again data source, on which data source this report has been created. If you see, all these are users. Now the reports where I will have access, I will be able to do it. Let's say I will try to search some reports. Just give me a minute. I might have created certain reports. Let's see if it is available. Let's start a search. Let me search. See, I've got 2 reports. If I just go ahead and click on this and put a filter here, I will see both the reports. Now see, this is my Workday account which I am using. Right, I got this user. This is created by this and you see my data source, all active and terminated workers. If I go and click on it, I will be able to make the changes. If I click on Actions, Edit, Copy, Maintain Excel Template, Run Schedule Test, Transfer Ownership Right. I am able to do everything. Even I am able to delete it. Because I am the owner. Right. That is something which is not possible through the standard report, guys, because you are not the owner. Right. Every business object, for standard report, we need to copy it and we can delete it or edit it, whatever. You can make a copy. Then when you make a copy, it becomes a custom report. It becomes a custom report basically. Whoever copies that becomes the owner. Every business object will have a standard report and a custom report. Is it clear to everybody? Guys, this completes our chapter 1. As per our curriculum, we have completed our chapter 1. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel.